House of Wessex developed as a ray of hope during the Viking invasion of the British Isles after the fall of Northumbria, East Anglia, and Mercia. The only country the Vikings had not yet conquered, or failed to do so, was Wessex. The Battle of Merithun, a pivotal conflict between King Athelred I and the Danish Viking army that ended with Wessex's defeat and Athelred of Wessex's death on the same year's Easter, served as the foundation for Alfred's ascent. The ealdorman of Wessex preferred Alfred to be king after King Athelred died because of his youth, compared to the late king's sons, Athelwold and Athelhelm, who were still infants. Due to his nephew's immaturity and the possibility of a Danish Viking invasion, Alfred's accession to the throne of Wessex in April 871 was unopposed. But as soon as Alfred took the throne, the Vikings routed a Saxon force at an unidentified location, and after the Danes routed an army led by Alfred at Wilton, there was no chance of driving the invaders from his realm. The pagan invaders eventually withdrew from Reading in 871 to spend the winter in Mercian London, after Alfred was compelled to pay them off in silver. The sad string of defeats at the hands of Vikings persisted unabatedly, forcing Alfred to adopt a strategy of buying them off. As a result, they stopped attacking, and Wessex experienced 5 years of peace. This calm was at most a temporary solution and was not expected to persist for a very long period. After capturing Mercia, the Viking army broke apart. Under the leadership of Halfdan Ragnarsson, one group marched to Yorkshire, where they made permanent settlements. In 875, the opposite side, led by Guthrum, attacked Wessex once more. Alfred followed the army, hoping to stop further damage from occurring. Guthrum and his troops had adopted the typical Danish tactic of taking a fortified town and waiting for a peace treaty, containing money in exchange for a pledge to leave the country promptly. When Guthrum's army eluded the West Saxon levies and got into Wareham in 875, they then promised to leave the nation to Alfred, who paid them off. The Danes quickly sneaked away to Exeter, further into Alfred's realm, where they made a firm peace, with Alfred in the autumn of 877 agreeing to leave his realm and never return. They did this, staying in Gloucester in the kingdom of Mercia for the remaining days of 877. 30 miles from Gloucester, Alfred spent Christmas at Chippenham in Wessex. The night of January 878, most likely, the Danes assaulted Chippenham. Alfred was compelled to flee with a small force into the Somerset marshes after being forced to surrender Chippenham. In Somerset's marshes, Alfred constructed a fort at Athelney, where he continued to battle the enemy. Alfred was able to organize the local militias from Somerset, Wiltshire, and Hampshire and launch a resistance campaign from his fort at Athelney, an island in the marshes close to North Petherton. The Anglo-Saxon kingdom's history reached its lowest point in 878. Wessex was the only kingdom still fighting after the other kingdoms had been conquered by the Vikings. Around Whitsuntide, between May 4 and May 10, 878, Alfred rode to Egbert Stone, east of Selwood, where he was greeted by all the people of Somerset and Wiltshire and Hampshire, who were delighted to see him. A meticulously thought-out offensive that involved rising the firds of 3 shires culminated with Alfred emerging from his fortress at Athelney. This entire incident resulted in a decisive battle at Edington between Danes led by Guthrum the Old and Saxons led by Alfred of Wessex. The Saxon army had about 6,000 soldiers, but the Danes could only assemble about 4,000. The fight was fought in Edington, and the Saxons were successful in thwarting their Danish adversaries on the battlefield and weakening them, after which they withdrew to the Chippenham fortress. After being besieged at Chippenham following the defeat, the Saxons won the fight, forcing the Danish Lord Guthrum to be baptized and accept the stipulations of a treaty by Alfred known as the Treaty of Wedmore. Athelstan became Guthrum's baptismal name, and he ruled East Anglia as its king until his passing in 890. The Treaty of Alfred and Guthrum established the borders of their respective kingdoms in 886. The kingdom of Mercia was divided, with a portion going to Guthrum's East Anglia and the other to Alfred's Wessex. The agreement also established the social classes that existed in Danish East Anglia and their Wessex equivalents. It made an effort to offer a framework that would reduce conflict and control trade between the two people. Guthrum, whose baptismal name was Athelstan, was the first of the Danish kings of the English kingdoms to manufacture coins in the Alfredian style. However, it is unclear how seriously Guthrum took his conversion to Christianity. By the end of the 9th century, all Anglo-Danish kings were coining their own money. The Anglo-Saxon concept of monarchy appears to have been entirely embraced by the Anglo-Danish leadership by the 10th century. Following Guthrum's defeat at the Battle of Edington, Alfred changed the Wessex military requirements, making it harder for the Vikings to raid effectively. A few Vikings fled to East Anglia and others to Northumbria by 896, when they had given up. The Viking danger was curbed under Alfred's tenure.